So today, March 31st, is the last day gun owners can participate in Ottawa's buyback program. According to Public Safety Minister Gary Ananda-Sangri, more than 51,000 assault-style firearms have been declared by gun owners since January. That number, it's just a fraction of the 150,000 banned guns Public Safety Canada says are circulating inside the country. Could be more. For a closer look at how the program is faring, we're joined by Francis Langlois, firearms policy expert and professor of history at the University of Quebec in Montreal. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Lindsay.
So this program relies on local police to collect these banned firearms from owners. Most local police forces have said, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to participate. Premiers across the political spectrum have really criticized this policy. So why is the buyback program facing so many roadblocks?
I think there are two main reasons. First, a few of the prime ministers and the municipalities fear I would say the wrath of gun owners and people who are against that type of policy. And the other thing is that people want to be as far as possible as from possible problems that could appear, a bit like what happened at the beginning of the 2000 when the federal government was trying to create a registry that cost so many millions of dollars. So I think that both reasons explain why most provincial and municipal authorities are, keeping at safe distance from the program.
Public Safety Canada says it will deploy its own mobile collection unit staffed by the RCMP to areas that are not participating in the program. What could that look like?
Well, they will send people everywhere in all of the provinces except Quebec. Quebec will cooperate with the federal government, and the Sûreté du Québec will work with the federal authorities. But in other provinces, the federal will work by himself, send his own people. But of course, we have to expect over time and perhaps delays. But the federal government can act and proceed with its policy everywhere in Canada. But it will be a bit more difficult than the rest of Canada, of course.
So after today's deadline, gun owners have until October 30th to turn in or deactivate their banned firearms.
Indeed.
People who don't comply could be charged criminally. How are you expecting Ottawa to enforce that?
It will be extraordinarily difficult, first of all, because many of the firearms that are banned by Bill C-21 are not registered anywhere, so Ottawa doesn't know how many of those firearms are in Canada and who owns those firearms. So that's the first problem. The second problem is, of course, that it will cost a lot of money to send police officers or agents at gun owners' home to check if they have gotten rid of all their weapons. So it will be expensive, time-consuming, and very difficult to put in action because, as I said, nobody knows exactly how many of those weapons are in circulation in Canada.
And then in terms of owners and incentive for people to want to do this, what are you hearing?
Well, already the government has around 50,000, collected 50,000 weapons. There are many more, so it's between 150,000 and perhaps 200 or 300,000 weapons that have to be collected. The owners, for the moment, seem to resist, most of them, either because they don't know about the policy or because they are against it and perhaps hoping that the future Conservative government, or maybe if there is a failure of the policy, it will be removed or they will be able to keep their weapons. There are some owners that want to get rid of the weapon by themselves by selling them to retailers that will sell the firearms outside of Canada. That's also an option. So
speaking of failure, I mean, could this buyback program end up being a complete failure?
Well, it could. But that being said, the experience that was made in Nova Scotia a few months ago was successful, not in terms of how many weapons were bought back, but in terms of administration and the procedures. Everything went fine. And this time the government had the good idea to, I would say, test the policy in a smaller area with a smaller population before putting it in action over the whole country, as they did at the beginning of the 2000s when with the registry, and it was maybe not a failure, but there were so many problems that the cost exploded at that point. So I think the policy itself is working, but now we have to see how the gun owners and the population will react to its implementation.
Francis Langlois, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure, Lindsay. Have a good day.
You as well. Now, we did reach out to Public Safety Canada for a statement. We did not receive one in time for this interview.